There might be some guidelines for this now that we have the deal details from the WGA strike that have come forward. And that leads me to our featured story of the night. All right, everybody, just because we're getting so into it right now, I figured I'd break this down because a big thing really moving forward with the WGA deal is about this whole topic right here. It's about residuals. So, okay, let's talk about the residuals for writers now. So writers, because of this whole thing we were just talking about, they're like, well, you know the numbers, we should be a cut of this. Well, they decided to do a bonus now. There's gonna be a bonus for writers for new shows on all the streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, all this. But it depends on the success. They're saying if 20% of the subscribers are watching this content, then a bonus will go out in the first 90 days, this is. Then the bonus will go out to the writers involved. It's a TV show, the bonus is between $9,000 and $16,400. If it's a movie, the bonus is $40,500 for a feature film. That's the kind of residuals they're talking about, but they're talking about a narrow window within 90 days of it first pulling on the platform, and then it's a cut that way for those 90 days, and then it's done. So it's not a long-term residual thing, but it is a way for writers to get paid. I think the idea is it might be something they'll propose to actors too somehow. We're gonna have to wait to see about this, but that's a big bonus that's going to be moving forward. Something else they were talking about was the writer rooms. So the writer rooms, they were pulling for 6 writers in the room. They wanted it for the green light, the pre-production stuff all the way through. They wanted them on set, and they wanted 6. Well, now they made a deal where it'll be 3 if it's 6 episodes or less for a TV series. You have 3 writers, all right? And now if it's a movie, you're going to have 6. But if it's a television show of 6 and under, 3 writers, and 1 can be the showrunner. All right. And they're guaranteed at least 10 weeks of pre-production moving into the production. And if during the green lights process, if the script doesn't get picked up, of course, there's no job. If it does get picked up, those writers are guaranteed jobs on this series moving forward. So that's big. But now let's say if it's a 7-episode series, right? So if it's 7 episodes to 12, they need to have 5 writers on board. Now, if it's 12 or above, it has to be 6 writers on board. So they got their 6, but it has to be for one of the bigger shows, which kind of makes sense because if you have more than 12 episodes, of course, you're going to need more writers to be doing more episodes for the producers. For them, it kind of works out, I think. Now, for those shows like White Lotus or, that are like a one-offs where we have 1 writer and that's it, those are still being allowed solo writers for those projects, but it can only be 1 writer. That's their idea. They create it. They're the showrunner that's going to be doing all of the scripts, and then there's no other writers involved with that. And so those are big moves because they were going back and forth with this, trying to figure these things out. Another big thing they were trying to figure out was the AI. And like AI, they broke it down. They got a lot of wins here, I think. So overall, AI cannot, like as Goldy was saying too, they can't write or rewrite literary material. They can't actually, a writer can't be forced to use AI at all. Now, if the production has it and they decide to use it as a utensil to the writer, they can use it, but the writer can say, no, I don't want to use it. It protects the writer completely. And WGA reserves the right to assess if there's exploitation of the actual writer, if they're actually using that writer's content to feed the AI to learn. That is forbidden. And if they find out, there'll be restrictions. WGA is supposed to control that. And there's also little things like teams. So there's a lot of writing teams, and their big problem with that was health and pension. So they're saying that, well, on paper, a writer gets X amount of money, and so if I'm doing the series, I'm not getting healthcare because I'm only getting half of that because there's 2 of us. Well, on the books, you're a writer, you're going to get the full amount of money as if you were a single writer on that production. Now that you're a co-writer, now you're still getting paid half the money. They're still splitting between the 2 of you, but on the books for pension health, you're getting paid as if you're a single writer for the whole production. So you'll get your health and pension benefits. So that was a huge win. I thought that was really great. And also if you're doing drafts, if you're a feature writer, they're actually giving you a rewrite now. It's written into your contract, even if it's like an adaptation. That was a big thing. Apparently adaptations and reboots, they didn't want to pay for rewrites. They're like, no, we don't want to do that. But that went away after how many months of strikes. They said, okay, cool. If even it's a reboot or something like that, then we will still pay you for another draft, and that's written into your contract. So I know it's very confusing. There's a lot of facts that have come forward, but I think that residual basis in 90 days when it first comes out, they're saying that's for the big stuff, the big projects. And of course that covers most of their direct to streaming releases, theatrical movies or, television series. So they'll be getting paid for that 90 days, depending on if 20% of the viewership is there. And they're supposed to release release that information to WGA, but that's a little bit hairy too, because everyone's like, show us the numbers. And they said, well, they're going to release it to WGA committee in the front people, but it's not necessarily going out to everybody. And it's like discretion based when they can actually release those numbers to their actual talent. So a lot of big updates on the contract, and I see why they signed it. I see why it went through. I think it is a lot of wins. It did hurt a lot of people a long way, and I think if it wouldn't have been as good as it is, I think a lot of people have been pissed. I think it will be ratified pretty quickly. And the AI thing, I think, is finally locked down for them. So I feel like if they're doing that for writers, though, will they do it for actors? Will these guidelines be something that will work moving forward? What do we think about this? Sabrina, do you think this is a big win for WGA, or do you think that some of the talent will actually be unhappy that this contract is coming through?
I mean, I'm sure there's always going to be people who are disappointed. Absolutely. I think that it is still kind of vague-ish. There's a lot of things that I do agree
show
with.
Us the numbers.
Yeah, show us the numbers is right. Which is part of the problem, because they don't show us the numbers from the streaming services and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know. It seems to be worded well. It seems like it's checking a lot of the boxes. You know, there are some things that aren't addressed as well as they could be, in my opinion. But you know, this is a very preliminary public information. You know what I mean? Like we don't have all of the details, but
not the nitty gritty stuff. That's for sure. This is like the bullet points.
But it goes out to the members and they vote, and so like we'll see how they feel. I'm not in the WGA. I'm in SAG. So I hope that this is good enough for everyone, and I hope that everyone's happy, and I hope that we can move on and start working fucking again.
Before I go to Goldy, I'm going to go to Mike fast. I know Goldy is like ready to jump in there. I can feel it, but
he's got a better opinion than I do, guaranteed.
But
that's why we're going to get you out of the way, Mike.
Mike, what do you think about this? Is this monumental wins that justify 5 months of striking, or should they have settled earlier?
Based on what you're saying, those wins sound pretty freaking monumental, which is why, like, it sounds like if this is what ends up being signed, that's the AMPTP giving up a lot of control, which is different than doing something like, okay, cranking up the numbers, giving a little bit more residuals in the streaming universe. Like, that would be incremental gain. Giving up control, like saying, okay, the writers get to determine whether or not they're going to use AI as a tool, like, that seems like kind of a watershed moment. And for that reason, just because I think big organizations...
That is a big gain.
Big organizations have a problem giving away that amount of control. Obviously, I don't know what the inside of the room looked like, but it smells a little off to me. I'm wondering where they're going to make their cut. What's the sneaky backdoor that they've developed so that they don't have to, give up their share of the goods, which up to this point have been unjustifiable.
Mike, they wanted to have like a cut of the profits. So like less than 1% of the profits, that went out the window. Percentage base of sharing pretty much your profits from the producers and the studios, I should say. Yeah. But this went out the window. They did this 90-day window. So I think overall they're saving money. They're not giving that percentage out from their gross income. And this, if it's 20% of the views, like how long does that last? 90 days?
Like, where are you giving us that information? Like that, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of things that seem like a little bit suspect to me. Like there are great things, but there are also things that are suspect. And also, Goldy, you can probably answer this question the best.
Goldy, does it smell fishy or fresh? What do you think? Fishy or fresh?
I don't know if what I'm about to say is correct, but my takeaway from what you babbled out there, Brian, was no, it's a lot. It was a lot. It's a lot. But my understanding of this is really only one thing, and it's the biggest win for the WGA. If what you said and how I read it is correct, what we're introducing to the guild is transparency. Mm-hmm. And that, but it's more than we've ever had. And so I think that is the beginning of a trend where, hey, you're talking about viewership and releasing numbers on viewership based on a project's success on that data is really important. I mean, if to incentivize our creatives by not just showing them, hey, we made a bunch of money on it. I did a movie called Into the Blue, Jessica Alba. Great time. I was in the Bahamas. I thought we were making a great movie. I'll never forget it. This producer came with a guy from Brooklyn, really funny guy. And I said, hey, how was dailies? I don't know if you guys know what that is, but back in the day when we shot on film, the the day's work from the day before would be projected at lunch for the higher ups. They'd watch what was filmed, and they call it dailies. We don't really do that anymore, unfortunately, but back in the day we did. And he came up, he says, Goldy, I saw the fucking dailies from yesterday. I said, how'd they look? He says, Jessica Alba underwater is like fucking porno. I'm going to be a millionaire. The thing is that, everyone comes at this process with a different perspective. But the bottom line is money is being exchanged. Money is being made, and it's being made for whatever the reason it is, whether it's a beautiful actress underwater or a really talented actor with one left foot. And the reality is that the transparency of those transactions is what we as employees need to have access to, not only to better our craft and to motivate us to do better and to do the best work we can. It allows us to feel like, you know what? When 20th Century Fox claimed that Avatar, the first one, was a complete loss financially, yet every bathroom on that fucking lot has marble countertops. It's not a loss. People made fucking money, and that magic number that is out there and the accounting that's used to determine what's what and who's what and how they made it, it really does need to be apparently available to all of us, because then we know what we're doing and why. And I think this is the very beginning of some transparency, some data that is necessary for us as employees. You did a good job, not just because you got a paycheck or because you got a residual, but because the audience is responding to it. And that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, they've been holding back on that for so long. And you're right. Even if it's like we're only giving it to the committee, we're going to be very select who gets to see the numbers. The fact that it's coming out there, at least the higher ups have an idea what's happening. And there is some like verbiage apparently where they can leak down some things, but it's not. I think you have to be working on the production and then they can tell you some of it, but they haven't really dove into what the finer details of that is. So we'll find out probably more when it's ratified and put out there. Maybe we can get a hand in the contract, but it's a good stepping stone forward, and it will help people. And the money's there. They found a way to do residuals somehow for 90 days at least. It's not like that nowadays where people are getting paychecks when they worked like 10 years ago, for like 2 cents. Like those days are going to be gone. And I think Goldy, I think we were saying before with residuals, I think they are just trying to get rid of that. It was a different day back in 1960s. I think that it is hard for actors to have a steady paycheck and to keep working, to just be a regular working actor, especially the ones that are hopping between 5 productions in a week. It's tough. It's very tough. And for the residuals to be there, it helps those people keep the lights on. But as a producer, as a studio head, I see them being like, why are we paying people for work that's done?
Okay, but now let me bring up that same algorithm you just created. So let's just say you did a day on Ant-Man as an example.
Yeah, as an example.
As an example. And you did that. Amazing, isn't it? I've known people who have worked on that.
So brilliant.
And the point, very handsome people too. Right. Anyway, yeah, I mean, if you like that sort of thing. The point is, let's just, for argument's sake, you got paid $1,000 for the day, and all in after residuals are all said and done, you walked away with $5,500 for a day's work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, let me ask you a question. Yeah, pretty fucking good. Why don't they just pay you $5,500 and move you along your way? And that's the future. The future is going to be properly paying people for the work that they do so that they themselves can hang their hat on it, build a budget, live their life, buy a house, raise a family. And the studios themselves can say, here's our labor costs. Because this particular system is a fucking mess. And that's what these strikes are about. But that's what the AMPTP is relying on. They're relying on the fact that they need to somehow adapt and evolve towards the future so that we have an industry to work in. We're privileged to do it. We're going to continue to do it. But the bottom line is that we have to evolve. What was is not going to be the way it is. The way it is now, again, this is the death rattle, guys. I'm sorry to say, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying we have to assimilate and evolve. That's it.
What is okay, so you have like actors that are not working all the time. Like they're the people who are wealthy and rich and like making a shit ton of fucking money is like 2%.
1%.
You know what I mean?
1.5%.
1%.
Over $1 million.
Well, but I'm saying like 2% is probably wealthy. They live good lives. You know what I mean? Like this, but everyone else is fucking living in a fucking 2-bedroom apartment on Laurel Canyon. You know what I mean? People who have fucking been guest stars, regulars on shows, people who have had their own shows like for fucking 5 seasons, but then like, you know what I mean? Like there's no, like, there was a time where you would do a job and like let's say you were on, I don't know, Friends, but they're all obviously bazillionaires, but like still today, to this day, a friend of mine, day player parts, couple day player roles, still getting ginormous checks in residuals for that show because the network is making so much money. I get all that.
I'm not disagreeing that's fucking awesome. It's totally awesome.
But the point is like now you're on the streaming service and your image is getting used a billion times a day. They don't give you any of that information and you're not getting any money for it. Like,
you know what the answer would be? You know what the answer is going to be? I mean, I'm sorry.
I wish I did.
No, but I'm not trying to be a complete douchebag, even though I know I am.
No, you're not being a douchebag. You're amazing. I love you.
I love you. Take care. But the thing is, the bottom line is that that's what was. And so, when I first started in the business, I remember there was a grip who came up to me. It was like 3:00 in the morning on a Friday night in the rain. I use that example all the time. Those were a lot of nights. We've all done those. Is
it Ladder 49? Are we talking about Ladder 49?
Yeah, whatever. Point is, it was miserable. And I remember one of the key grips or some fucker, old fucking douchebag was like, this is a fucking nightmare. They used to pay us a premium for this. They had night premiums. Yeah, but you don't fucking know nothing, kid.
I think I know that guy.
Yeah, we all do. He farts a lot. Anyway, the point is, I wasn't around for some of those benefits. I mean, there was a time in our industry where, the key grip wore a fucking suit and tie. There was a time in our industry where if you worked on the weekends, they paid you extra. There was a time where if you went after midnight, they took care of you. Those are all things that are gone.
Things should get better, not fucking worse, though.
I agree with that. There should be protections for your health, your well-being, and your finances. What I'm trying to get at is, I'm not saying I like it. I'm saying that I see a trend moving forward. This is a privileged position. You and I and the rest of us that have been there when we had night premiums, we can hold on to that all we fucking want. But I'll tell you, the 12-year-old kid right now that wants to be in Marvel movies, in 5 years' time, when there's no such thing as residuals, he's never had one. He never knew how great they were. And they said, we're going to give you $5,500 to jump from that green screen to this green screen and say,
and they'll be thrilled.
He'll fucking do it. And he'll take it.
Of course.
With the future generations. And the reality is the AMPTP
but that's
is
not fair.
banking on that. It's not
fair. They just keep fucking us more and more and more.
But it's not fair with the night premiums that I never enjoyed. It's the evolution of business, and it's the evolution. If more care is put
why does the evolution of business go against the working person as opposed to going against the corporation?
But it's not going against the working person if there's going to be protections in place for people driving home late and not driving it and falling asleep at the wheel.
Oh, so you can get a hotel if you want, and then we'll call you and then we'll fire you because you asked for a hotel.
There's also that stuff happens,
fucking
but
stupid. Also,
they should just take care of people those late days.
The grips are not set builders. They help with lighting. Basically, they set up flags and manipulate the light, sun, and they manipulate the light. 100% manipulate the light is what they do.
Sort of the Home Depot of all filmmaking sets. But the thing is that. But what I'm trying to say, Sabrina, is I'm not in agreement with what I'm saying. I don't like what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say I agree that we should get rid of residuals. I'm saying that it's going to happen, and we have to be prepared for it. We have to be prepared for it, and we have to realize that when we're dead and gone, I mean, they're burying me in a coffin the size of a piano. We know that. When that happens, there's not going to be a lot of people.
I hate you so much.
I hate me too, obviously. But the point is, there's not a lot of people that are going to be giving a shit about what once was. They're going to care about what is now. And what is now will always be a decent paycheck for a privileged position. And they capitalize on it and bank on it. That's the way it's going to be.
But a decent paycheck for a job that you book. As an actor, the most middle-of-the-road actors book maybe 10 jobs a year.
Okay,
how are you supposed to live your life on that?
Tough business.
That's not their worry. Their worry is, I need someone to come in and hit the mark, say the line. I'm going to give them $5,500 for the day. You do that 10 times a year, you made $55,000.
No one's giving you $5,500. No one's giving you $5,500.
Go with some of the future.
I'm talking about the future, where they pay you properly for the job that you do, and then residuals
I'm so sorry.
have to be factored in.
I miss her. I thought you were talking like When you said the $5,500, I thought that you were. I thought they were saying for like a week of work or whatever, which is what you get as an actor. Like you get $5,500 for a week. Like let's say if you did a part. You're saying a day. So they're going to upgrade. They're going to give you more money initially,
up front,
and then nothing on the back end.
Correct.
I can see that going that way because.
That's
getting there, Goldy.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just to stop, and then you guys can just yell.
No, you're good.
The thing is, Brian's gonna get really excited about the next segment. I fucking can't wait. Fuck, it's exciting. The thing is that it's about what once was, which we're death rattling holding on to. Right now, they pay you a daily rate, which is based on a residual income that really isn't there anymore.
Exactly, it doesn't exist.
Yes, you're getting
exactly correct.
The evolution will be and
100%.
We're going to pay you appropriately for the job you're doing today, and you're going to walk away. We're not going to see you fucking again. You're not going to need more money, but you're going to get paid right. And then you can hang your hat on it. They can hang their hat on the labor costs. Life moves on. We're still privileged. Who makes $5,500 a day to say you want fries with that? Nobody. It's great. It's a great fucking job. You have to have talent. You have to skill. It's who you know. You have to get in there. There's a million reasons why it's a difficult business to be a part of, and it should be. Not everyone can do it. Otherwise, everyone would. All that bullshit. But the reality is they need to start paying us now for the work we're doing now and stop worrying about this residual bullshit, which is convoluting the entire process, fucking with our pensions, fucking with our everything. It's got to go away. We're not there yet. This negotiation is one step of many to get there. And AI right now is a sticking point, which is important because that's going to be moving forward. We need to focus on that. And I think ultimately there's going to be concessions made. The strike's going to end. My prediction is 3 to 5 weeks from now. We'll be back to work. And we'll be back to work reluctantly. I don't think we're going to all get the deal that we want, but I think it's a step in the right direction. And I think if transparency can be introduced to the Screen Actors Guild negotiations, it's going to help everybody.
It'll be huge. And Milton was putting something out there too, saying that AI scripts are out there. But the one thing about the WGA thing says they can't just use AI scripts now. That's the one thing they actually won there, being like it has to be. They can use material created by AI, but it can't be the source of things. That's the big win for WGA. But yeah, I think you're right, Goldy. I think probably like 4 to 5 weeks. I think the fact is when they get back to the table, that's a week of negotiations. Hopefully it does come next week. SAG-AFTRA still said that don't believe that yet. They might make them sit a second. Now writers can get back, start writing scripts, start getting stuff ready, productions can start getting ready. And when they need actors back, they can finally figure this out, settle it, and then get people back to work, which would be huge for the industry. And the residuals are a big thing for actors still too, Goldy. I don't know. We'll see what they do with this. Hopefully they start paying people better. That's the biggest thing. That's why these increases have been so big over every year, like 11% and 6 and then 5, because they want to get up to a better paying job so people can have a working living and actually be able to pay their bills. And hopefully in the future they can do that, even if it means the death of residuals. I hope that means that you get paid appropriately for what you do, because the producer and the studios, they don't want to keep paying the residuals. They don't want that anymore. They want that done. So I don't know. We'll see. It's a weird time, but that's the WGA contract that's out there, right, everybody? They're gonna ratify it. It's gonna be all done pretty soon, and then the actors got to settle, and then we can get back to work, and your shows can come back. But expect some delays, because that's what happens after a strike this long.